Hey guys, how's it going, and thanks for coming. I'm Nick, this is Real Life Money. Don't forget to subscribe. So in this video, we're going over 20 dumb frugal mistakes that people make to try and save money. Don't make these dumb frugal mistakes trying to cut corners and save money when all you end up doing is cutting your own money up. Our time is super valuable, so don't be wasting your time and money doing some of these things. And realize there's a difference between being frugal and being cheap. Frugal is kind of being smart about money, while cheap is just buying the cheapest thing, even if it's not worth it. If you have any of your own, you can leave them in the comments section down below. I also have a bonus at the end. But for number one, it's buying that real cheap gas. You know the cheap gas I'm talking about. It's like 79 octane. It's like 75 octane. It's like a really low compared to regular. The problem here is that most cars can't even run that properly. So over time, it could actually break down your engine. You're not saving money by buying this cheap gas. Camera change. Number two is buying in so much bulk. And those grocery stores out there like BJ's or Costco's, you could buy in bulk and you save that way. And it costs you less per unit. The problem with that is, if you have so much stuff, and this is like when things go bad, like maybe food items, you have so much stuff and you don't use all of it. Now, if you use items like just household items that never go bad, that's fine. You know, if we're talking toilet paper, tissues, and paper towels, by all means stock up and whatever. Food items, you actually might be losing money because you're just throwing it out at the end of the day. And we're back over here with number three is using a cheap professional. For example, like an accountant. So you can try to get the cheapest professional you can, maybe like an accountant, a lawyer, or anything like that. But if their quality is as good as their prices, they're probably not the best. If you actually spend more for a good accountant, they could actually save you more than what they're worth. Like a quick example, maybe an accountant might cost you an extra $2,000 to throw out a number for you, but they might be able to save you an extra $4,000 a year. So you're actually moving ahead $2,000 for that year. Is it worth it getting a cheaper one? Maybe not. Number four has a little disclaimer, a little asterisk on top, because it really depends. But number four is doing it yourself or fixing your own car. Now, if you're like a mechanic and you're like a car person and you know exactly what you're doing, by all means, you could probably save a lot of money that way. On the flip side, if you're trying to do things, you end up doing things the wrong way, putting things, and you're just messing things up, and plus, it's costing you like double to triple the amount of time, and you're getting a lesser quality, you should probably just pay a mechanic to do it in a smart way. You know, some mechanics just overcharge, they don't do a good job, so make sure you have look at the reviews and everything. But you should weigh how much something costs you versus how much time you're saving as well. Especially on all these electronic cars, heck, most of the mechanics don't even know what's going on with the car. Number five frugal mistake that a lot of people are making is focusing so much time on choosing the best savings account for 2020 or something like that. Given I just did a recent video on that, so it could help you save a little bit of time. If you like, I'll leave a link in the description. Now, don't get me wrong, it's fine to browse around like the best accounts, and when you find it, you choose it. But when you're taking days and weeks trying to determine what's the best out there, and the only difference is really like a 0.1% difference in the savings account interest rate, stop wasting your time. Think of it as, what else could you be using that time for? Usually you could be doing it in a better and more efficient way. Shout out, I just opened up a Discover savings account. So far, so good. Switching it up again, number six is choosing individual stocks over indexing. What? Yes, you heard me, and hear me out. Some people might disagree with this, and it really depends on who you are, so let's explain a little. The idea of indexing is that you're just picking basically the whole stock market, you're constantly investing in it, it requires little to no research whatsoever. Now, the possible downsides to this is that it has a small cost associated with it, if you have like any other types of ETFs or mutual funds, it could have higher costs, and you're basically just mirroring the market. This could then bring people to believe that if you actually put your time into it to choose better stocks so you get higher returns, and you actually have lower fees because you're not paying all these different expense ratios and management fees and all those little things hidden that no one knows about. So yes, you can do better. The thing is, you have to have the time to actually do that. And I'm putting this on the list because if you want to simply just forget about paying the expenses on like an index fund or a mutual fund and just picking individual stocks when you have no idea what you're doing, that would actually have a larger cost and a huge loss sometimes versus just doing an index fund. You see how it gets like a little tricky? So it really depends. It all really boils down to if you're passionate and have the time to put into researching those investments. Otherwise, it's much easier and more efficient if you actually do the indexing strategy. Yes, it might cost slightly more, but overall, you save a lot of time and you can make a lot of money. Number 7 frugal mistake that some people might make as well is buying in a cheaper neighborhood or up and coming. Sometimes the problem is it's always up and coming and it just never happens. So if you're buying in like a lower neighborhood, and this is like buying a house or an apartment or anything like that with real estate, if you are buying in these cheaper neighborhoods, yes, there's always that probability that it could get better, and if you do the right research, see if things are being built and everything. But usually when houses are really cheap, they are cheap for a reason. Heck, it even might be bad because it's on the decline. So be wise about your real estate purchases. Number 8, sticking with the real estate idea, is never updating or fixing your house or apartment. Sometimes things just go, things break, and they are never fixed because it's going to take too much to replace them. The problem with that is sometimes you're actually losing so much energy. For example, it might be doors or windows or certain appliances or even lights. If you're not updating these, and of course it really depends on what we're talking about and the cost, but if you're actually able to upgrade some part of your house to actually save on energy, that might be useful. Like one quick example would be possibly LEDs. Might have a little bit more of an upfront cost versus energy efficiency. You got to look at how much money you'll save. It might be insignificant. That's just a simple example. Number 9 mistake I think some people are making, I've been there. I'll be honest, I've been there, is doing surveys to make money online. Now, there are sites that are actually legitimate and you can get paid to take surveys. The problem with that is it usually isn't efficient with your time. You might take like 15 minutes to an hour and you end up getting 25 cents, 50 cents, even if it's $1, that's $1 an hour. Would you work for someone for $1 an hour? Probably not. You could use that time for something else. It's called opportunity cost. What could you use your time and or money in another way? Number 10, I heard going around a little bit in some videos and comments or whatever, but some people actually turn off their hot water to save on money and energy. Now, I feel like this is one of the examples where that's being cheap versus frugal. One, you're not able to fully clean efficiently because hot water is not readily available, and then it's going to take time to actually heat that water up. So that might lose you on some time. I don't know the exact money saving numbers that might be. It might be like a few dollars, might be a few cents, but I think at that point it's almost insignificant where you should just leave it on. So halfway there, thanks for sticking around, and don't forget that bonus at the end. But for number 11, I remember I used to try to do this. I might still try to, just because I do have some cheap aspects to me versus frugal aspects, but is trying to get away with paying for parking. Now, I'll be the first one to say I despise paying for parking. I'm leaving my car there why should I pay for it? Now, if you're in the city, that's probably just second nature to you. In my mind, paying for parking is almost like ridiculous. So, I'm assuming other people would think this as well. So when you try to, try not to pay the full amount, I don't try to do this, but if you try to skimp out on like 15 minutes or a half hour or an hour just to save a couple bucks, to then risk a parking ticket, which costs like probably at least $40, that risk in return isn't worth it, and your car could actually get towed, which happened to my dad before. That wasn't fun. At the end of the day, if you end up just paying for the parking, you don't have to worry about it. It still immensely frustrates me though. Number 12 is fast food. Now, people think they're actually saving money by buying cheaper food items like a McDouble from McDonald's. I worked there way too long. I try to get that out of my head, but it never does. But when you're buying this cheap garbage, basically, for your health, it's not healthy, especially long term. It's going to lead to issues down the road. Heck, it'll give you issues right now. You're going to feel like garbage because you're eating garbage. So when you're cheaping out on food, that's not always the best way to go. Now, I'm not saying to buy a $20 salad because it's better for your health. There's a balance. You could make your own food, which costs you a little less, so there are ways around it. Number 13, kind of leaning toward the female audience right now. I mean, guys have skincare too, but that is buying cheap makeup or skincare. Now, I don't personally know how much makeup costs because I don't use it. I'm just naturally glowing. But I do have skincare routines and everything like that, so sometimes with those cheaper products, it's actually worse for your body and your skin, and it's just going to cost you more money down the road. If you spend a little bit more on the better stuff, it actually help you out. Or so I've been told. Now, number 14 mistake I think some people make, I used to be like this, unfortunately, but is cheaping out on a tip at like a restaurant to save a few bucks. Now, yeah, it does depend on the service. If the person's like garbage at the job, I'm not paying you a lot. But those people do work very hard. They're always out there. They're trying their best. There's so much stuff going on. The least you can do is help them out with a decent tip at least. You don't have to over tip. You don't have to give 50% tips. And I mean, this might be an American thing too for all the international audience members out there. Let me know if you guys tip actually. That's interesting. What percentage do you tip? But in the locations that tipping is more of a common practice, you probably shouldn't leave like a $1 tip on a $50 meal. That's kinda cheap. They work hard, and you could also look at it as if you're helping them out, because the money's going straight to them, so you're like financially helping them out, which could be a good feeling on your part. Which brings us to number 15, mistake that a lot of us actually do, which I'm trying to be a little better at. I am focusing on making and saving for myself, because you should help yourself so you're efficient, so then you could help others down the road. But number 15 is donating and giving. Now, yes, be aware that some charities, some of the percentage goes toward the actual organization and doesn't go toward the cause whatsoever, which I don't agree with at all, obviously. But the idea of donating and giving is that if you are able to, and I'm not saying to force you, it's really up to you, but I will say even it doesn't have to be a lot either. It could be a small amount, and what that does to your mindset and how you feel, it just, I don't know, like you've contributed to someone else's life. Maybe you're able to help someone out, you're able to make someone smile if you give kind of maybe an extra tip or, a little extra something for someone. Now, we could also talk about it doesn't only have to be financial. You don't only have to give money. You could also give your time. Moving right along to 16 mistake that some frugal people do is they try to eat and drink less. Now, if we're overeating and over drinking, that is a bad thing. But when you're like malnourishing yourself to the point where you're trying to save a few bucks, that is not worth it whatsoever. Your body needs energy to function. If you have low energy, then you simply can't function, and that leads to other problems. So there are ways to eat healthier and more affordable. All I'm saying is you shouldn't malnourish yourself to save a few bucks. Number 17 frugal mistake that some people make is not paying for a gym membership because they don't want to pay for a gym membership. Now this has a huge disclaimer, huge asterisk. It really depends on the type of person you are. If you know you're never gonna go to the gym, well, one, you should probably try to change your mindset about that, because we all have to be active. But instead of thinking of it like, oh, I have to pay someone to go to the gym, rethink that into you're investing in yourself every single month. So chances are you're probably paying money for your phone and your car, and you're paying other people for those things. You're not paying yourself a lot. So if you actually invest in yourself by going to the gym, being more active, being more healthy, that's actually a good thing. So don't think of a gym membership as a bad thing. I mean, if you're not going, that's a bad thing. But definitely think of it as in a different light. Number 18 mistake people may make is not paying down their debt. Now I know the whole mindset, because they're thinking, well, if I pay down my debt, I'm not gonna have that money anymore, just in case. Well, one, yes, you should have some liquidity, some cushion in the bank just in case something happens. But after a certain amount, you should probably be paying your debt down. Don't think of it as you're losing money. You're actually gaining money because you're saving money on the interest that you no longer would have to pay. And that's a guaranteed rate of return, by the way. And being debt-free is pretty awesome. You should try it. Number 19, if you're sticking around, thank you so much. Hit this video with a thumbs up. It would much be appreciated, just because you're awesome. But number 19, again, it depends, but if you're buying a I'm talking really old car. Now I'm not talking like collectibles, that might work out for you, but when you're buying like a 40-year-old car that's barely running and you're just trying to save as much as you can, and you're spending like 500 bucks on a car that's probably gonna blow up by tomorrow, that's not something that you should pay money on. That does not then entail you go out and buy a $40,000 new car. There's something called a balance. We have to buy something that is affordable. Used cars are usually better because there is less depreciation versus a newer one, and you could save money that way. Number 20, and there's a bonus coming afterwards as well, so there's technically 21 things, or 21 mistakes, but number 20, for whatever reason, it always annoyed me a little bit. Couldn't really tell you why. No, I will tell you why. Is extreme couponing. Now the idea of this is fantastic. You know, you're just finding coupons, you end up going to the store, and you end up paying a lot less, sometimes nothing. I've seen the show Extreme Couponing. They end up paying absolutely nothing, and they end up getting like $200, $300, $400 worth of stuff for next to nothing. Here's my problem. The amount of time that goes into that is probably a part-time job. So you could actually compare that to what you could be making at a part-time job. Chances are you're probably going to be making more working versus doing couponing like that. Now I'm not downplaying coupons whatsoever, and I'm saying coupons, not coupon. Let me know how you say it. Coupon is wrong, just letting you know. But you know, if you're able to save a few dollars, I'm going to save the few dollars, but I'm not going to wait. I don't want to say waste, but again, it's opportunity cost. You can extreme coupon. What else could you do with that time that is more beneficial? And the bonus one that not many people realize, number 21 technically, of mistakes that frugal people make is that you're trying to save so much money, you end up not paying yourself. We live in a world, life is short, and we're not enjoying it to our fullest potential. Now, I'm not saying go on a $10,000 vacation. However, you can enjoy things a little bit more. And I'm saying this from personal experience because I spent years just saving every dime I could. I don't regret that because I was able to save a bunch of money doing that. However, I wouldn't recommend it because you don't enjoy it along the way. You need to use your money for yourself. And it could be a little something. I'm not saying you should buy anything you want. Usually, you could spend just a little bit on yourself and you'll be happy. My suggestion would be an experience over just buying something so it could have memories to it. So this was probably one of those longer videos, guys, so let me know what you think. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. Do you agree or disagree with any of these 21 mistakes that frugal people may make? So again, thank you so much for watching, really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.